So food has special meaning to you, Josh Poling. It's Coffee Near Me. I'm Barbara D. We're at Hickory and Oak, Josh and his wife's new restaurant in downtown Bowling Green. And let's talk a little bit about the philosophy of your first restaurant, which is home, cafe, and market. And then this is like total opposite of that, and we'll get into that. But let's talk home first. You went to culinary school, you love to cook, your wife loves to cook, you met her there. So you cook a lot in your family. But at what point do you go to the next level and say, I don't want to work for someone else, I want to work for myself? That's a huge decision, right?
It is. And you know, we were both working here in town, and I was actually the chef at 440 Main, and it was a fantastic experience. But at the end of the day, I was cooking their food, and their food is very, very good, but I wanted to cook my food, and it was kind of my time to do my thing. And Tom, the owner there, was great about it. He completely understood. And so Chelsea and I left, and Home Cafe was kind of born off this French concept of bistronomy, where nothing matters. The napkins don't matter, and the glasses don't matter. What matters is the food. So let's make phenomenal food, and let's do it the best way we can. And that's the underlying driving force at Home Cafe. It is a very casual spot. You walk up and you order at the counter, but you may walk up to that counter and you may order a filet mignon, or you may order king crab legs. And at the same time, you may order a fried chicken sandwich. So it is really a restaurant completely dedicated to food.
So you said it was my time, I wanted to cook my food. What's your food?
Well, I think my food's evolved a lot, and I think that's kind of what brought us here today. But back then, my food was very, very simple. I had ran a New York deli in Lexington. I loved the art of the deli. I loved all of that. I love simple food, and I never thought I would be back in fine dining. So back then it was that, and when we opened, we had all these crazy, big, bold flavors, and tons of influences. Everything was a fusion dish. And then as you get older and you mature a little bit, you really start loving the food you grew up with and loving the food of home. And I kind of began to understand the food of Kentucky, and that food became my food. And so I would dare say I calmed my food down a lot to where it was, it was just more fried chicken, and it was okay to serve fried chicken. And so I think my food has evolved over time too.
Yeah, but in the evolutionary process, you kind of went from back to base. You went back home.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Which probably really makes your grandfather, I don't know if he's still alive, but a farmer, I bet it makes him very proud.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we lost my grandfather when I was very young, but I frequently reference on social media and in my menus, he would have been so proud of the food.
What was his name?
Jack Reed. And but then I have an Uncle Rex, and they farm together, and my uncle is still alive, and so it's very cool to me to get to run these two incredible restaurants, but then call my uncle and be like, hey, how do you pickle beets? Take me through it, because you can Google a beet recipe, but you can't Google my family's beet recipe, and so that's really neat.
So are we going to get your family's recipes here? Are we going to get Uncle Rex?
I mean, there's a ton of family recipes. I mean, and it's down to simple stuff like, if you eat our gravy, it's the way we make gravy in my family. If you eat biscuits, we were not a family where you pop open a can of biscuits. You make biscuits. If you're gonna make biscuits, you make biscuits.
Scratch, baby, right?
Yeah, and so that's something that I think I overlooked a long time as a chef, how valuable growing up. We couldn't afford to eat out a lot, but we could afford to make biscuits, and so we made biscuits. And so all these things now that are really cool, my mom did that because we didn't have money to do anything else.
And thank you, Mom.
Yeah.
I want to remind you, you're watching Coffee Near Me. I'm Barbara Deeb, and I'm delighted to be here at Hickory and Oak, a brand new restaurant in Bowling Green, and we're having coffee with the owner, Josh Poling, who also owns Home Cafe and Market in Bowling Green. So that kind of got us to home. And then, so you talk about this circle, and you come back, and you never thought you'd be back in fine dining, but walk into Hickory and Oak, and this is it's a fine looking place, so I suspect you're serving fine food too.
Yeah, I think every chef, what we do is we tell stories through food, and I love Home Cafe. I love every single ounce of that restaurant. It's the only job when I left I actually cried. That's how much I love it. But it got to the point where I felt like I had told all of my stories, and so I have Chelsea there.
Your wife?
Yes, my wife, and it's her time. She has stories to tell, and she hasn't gotten to tell those because I've been telling my stories. And so I sat down with Chelsea and my family, and I told them, I've got this new story to tell, and I can't tell it at Home Cafe anymore. And so that's kind of how Hickory and Oak was born.
So what's your story then? What's your story that you're telling right now?
We really want Hickory and Oak's story to be the story of New Kentucky. As much as we romanticize fried green tomatoes and country ham and all of that, and those are great stories that we love, but that's not everything Kentucky is anymore. You know, we've got this very diverse population of people. So when we opened here, we had foie gras and white bean pupusas. And, you know, most people say, well, what are pupusas? But in Bowling Green, we have a huge population of people from El Salvador. And so we're really trying to show new Kentucky cuisine here.
I love that. We've been talking with Josh Poling. And listen, join the conversation. We'd love to hear your comments. And if there's someone that you want to sit down and have coffee with, we'd love to hear from you. Josh Poling, thank you so much.
Absolutely.